This is MindPower. Hi, and welcome back to yet another great episode of MindPower. My name is Bryce L. Tomlinson from newdepthmedia.com, and today we're going to do an episode about green screens. Now, I know that there are a million episodes out there about green screens, and mine, I'm hoping that it will be really spectacular, but I can't guarantee that it's going to be any better than any of the other ones. Part of this how-to is based on the frugal filmmaker Scott Eggleston and his $5 light stand episode, where he shows at the end of the video how to create a 2-foot by 4-foot frame for a crib sheet that he uses for a light diffuser. And I watched that and I was thinking, man, that would be just about the right size for a green screen for my typical stuff. I could use some quick clamps, and I bought myself a real green screen to put on it because I've done enough DIY stuff with green screens that it's really not worth it to even mess with anything less than a green screen. Plus, they're so cheap now that you can get a real Muslim green screen and use some quick clamps on it and stick it on the frame. You're gonna see how I made this thing, and it's really based right off of Scott's work. And there's a little twist at the end. If you want to stick around, check it out, and I hope this works really well, and I hope you like it. You're gonna need a PVC cutter. You're gonna need 6 2-foot pieces of 3/4 inch PVC. You can use the thin-walled or the thick-walled version of the PVC, it doesn't matter. One might be a little stronger than the other, but it's not gonna matter all that much because you're just basically making a green screen. It's not like you're gonna go four-wheeling with it. You will need 6 3/4 inch couplers, a bunch of quick clamps. You're gonna need 4 elbows. You will need at least 4 1-foot or so scraps of 3/4 inch PVC. And you will need a wide variety of small scraps of 3/4 inch PVC. 4 T's, and if you want to do the option at the end, you'll need a drill, a 7/32 drill bit, a screwdriver, a 3/4 inch 1/4-20 screw, a 1/4 inch nut, a 1/4 inch lock washer, a PVC plug, and 5 T's instead of 4. Optionally, you can also have a quick release that you can add. For this setup, I'm also using a 3-point lighting system. I have a key light here that my wife is actually holding. My wife is acting as the human light stand today. And I have a fill light here, which is the same thing that I used in my last episode where I was on camera. It's basically a little lamp pointing into a music stand that has a piece of paper on it. That's my fill light, so it's nice and soft. Then I have a hair light above me, which is also being used to light the screen behind me. It works really well. Start out by measuring and cutting 6 2-foot pieces of 3/4 inch PVC, 4 or 6 scraps 1.5 to 2 inches long, and 6 1-foot or so pieces. When you're cutting thin-walled PVC, you'll need to go at it a bit slower because the thinner PVC tends to just squish instead of cutting. So bite the cutters back and forth a couple of times and it should cut through. As with any project, be patient. We'll begin by putting together the base for our green screen stand first by putting 2 short scraps in the ends of 1 T. If you just want to put the green screen frame on a table or very low to the floor, then you can just put another scrap piece in the top end of the T. Next, push a T onto each of the 2 ends in the middle T you just assembled, making a sort of letter I shape. Add a coupler to the end of each of 4 of your 1-foot or so pipes. Take the 4 pieces and put them into the end T's on your base, now forming more of a huge letter H shape. If you want to make the stand taller, you can remove the top scrap from the T. Here I made the mistake of using thin-walled PVC for my scrap piece, and now it just wants to squish when I try to pull it out. Use thick wall for these small scraps if you ever want to be able to remove them. Learn from my mistake. I made an extension out of another 1-foot piece, and if you want to extend it even further, add a coupler and another piece of PVC on top of that. To build the frame, start out with 2 pieces of 2-foot PVC and put them together with a coupler. This will be the top. Next, take 2 more 2-foot pieces and put them together with a T in between. This will be the bottom. Put 2 elbows on the ends of the bottom rod and make sure they're pointing the opposite direction of the T. Add a 2-foot pipe to one side elbow and continue around the rectangle by adding another elbow, then your top piece, then an elbow, and another 2-foot side piece. Then mount your frame on top of your base by pushing the T down onto it, and it should end up looking something like this. Once you're sure that you got everything right, You'll probably want to glue the center T's of your base together so that your stand doesn't flop around. I use the all-purpose cement from the local home improvement store. Make sure you get the kind that says it works on PVC. Use the applicator to apply a small amount to the inside of your fixtures. This way, when you put the pieces together, the glue goes to the inside instead of all over the place. I know that I could have glued more of the parts together to make it more solid, but I also wanted it to be more portable and compact, so I only glued the center parts of the base together. If yours is going to be a more permanent fixture, you might think about gluing more of the parts together, especially the bottom T and elbows to the bottom two pieces of 2-foot PVC. If you have those glued together, it should be pretty much solid. Once you've got everything upright, you can attach whatever screen you're using to your frame using the quick clamps. I use 6 clamps. After you've got it all attached, be sure to go around the frame and pull the clamps toward the rear of the frame so that you pull the screen tight, getting rid of as many wrinkles and folds as possible. Here you can see that I still had a lot of folds left, but it worked pretty awesome anyway. Just try to get it as nice as you can. For the final option, you can replace the top coupler with a T-joint. Then, you guessed it, take a 3/4 inch plug and drill a 7/32 hole in the middle of it. Take a 3/4 inch 1/4-20 screw and tighten a 1/4 inch nut onto it. Then put a 1/4 inch lock washer on it and drive it tightly into the inside of the plug. When you're done, you should have a perfect 1/4 inch camera mount that you can push onto your T. Personally, I probably wouldn't use it with a camera. I mean, are you gonna shoot the back of your head or something? Here I'm using it with a 160 LED light that has a hot shoe and tripod mount on the bottom of it. Once it's on your stand, you can tilt it downward to backlight your hair, or even point it straight down and light your screen with it. When shooting your green screen footage, try to have your subject at least 5 feet away from the screen. 3 reasons. Number 1, so that the green screen doesn't reflect back onto your subject, causing what's called splashover, resulting in unexpected transparent parts in your subject, such as their hair or shoulders. Number 2, if your camera has any focus capability, focusing your camera on the subject instead of the backdrop will cause the backdrop to be blurry, thus helping to get rid of many of the wrinkles, lines, and lighting inconsistencies, and making the green backdrop appear to be more flat. And number 3, it keeps your subject from casting a harsh shadow on the screen, causing more inconsistency in the color. All of these reasons are also true if you're using any other color or type of backdrop. Note that with a screen this small, you might not be able to get your subject far enough away from the screen without the edges of it coming into frame. So feel free to improvise and make the screen bigger if need be. If you have the room for it, you can also use the old trick of pulling your camera farther away and zooming in closer to achieve the proper depth of field, or to make the screen seem bigger even though it's farther away. In my case, I'm working with a very small room, so the subject is only about 2.5 feet away from the screen. Not the best scenario, but it works. Light your screen evenly. This means you might have to resort to using separate lights from what you are using for your subject. The best scenario is usually to have a 3-point lighting setup for your subject and 2 or more lights for your backdrop. But in the setup I'm using here, the backlight I'm using on the subject seems to be good enough to evenly light my green screen as well. It could be better, but it's pretty good. Lastly, unless you're deliberately trying to cause your audience to have a brain seizure or something, don't put yourself in some weird place or against some outlandish background. You might do that if you're making a music video or a science fiction TV show or movie, but if you're doing a newscast or even a tutorial web series like the show you're watching right now, you want to use a background that doesn't seem too abnormal. Something that's believable. You want it to look good, and you want your audience to feel comfortable watching. In my case, my house is usually a bit cluttered, so I'd rather have them see something nice and neat in my background. Or I might even eventually go with some kind of virtual set. For editing, I use Adobe Premiere, so for this episode I use the Ultra Key effect. First, select the color you want to key out by clicking on the eyedropper, then selecting a part of the green screen that's not too bright and not too dark. Try to find a patch that's relatively middle of the road in brightness. This way you get the most tolerance or color range for your key. Then clean it up using the various controls. Premiere has a wide variety of controls, and that would be an entire episode all its own. But suffice it to say that you're almost always going to need some kind of cleanup measure with whatever functions your editing program allows. Don't go too crazy with any one of the settings, or you're likely to cut off part of your hair or ears. And if the edges are too sharp or too soft, it will not look believable. If you light your screen and your subject properly, a lot of cleanup will already be taken care of. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, you can help me out by clicking those like and favorite buttons down below. And if you enjoyed seeing tech tutorials, reviews, and more, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. I hope you do. Also, if you have any questions or ideas to contribute, make sure you tell me about it in the comments below. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on MindPower.